Assignment 2. Results on some questions from Homework 1, Part 2. The second half of our homework result discussion. The first question, number 17. Which of the following Java expressions can be replaced by the JSP expressions? Miss rate 44%. Here, let me explain why the other two options not correct. Some students select option A. This is not correct. So if you just recall, how do we use this? We write it at the console. So we write it. When we use this statement, it will produce output on the console. Command line, right? Console. Console. All right. So actually, if you're doing this way, you will see at the server side, server, there is a, running environment, server side, server machine. Okay? So you will see in that place. But here, replace JSP expressions. When we use JSP expressions to produce output, our users will see on their page the output content on their web page. That's not console, so different things, right? One is the server-side machine, that black screen. Imagine that black screen. You may see the message there, console. Okay, Or the Eclipse. There is a console part. Okay, So running in the server window, So there is a console display part. So you see the message there. So that's for option A, but not for out.println. Out. So what is this out? Recall, we have 9 JSP implicit objects. There are 9. Okay, there are 9 JSP implicit objects, and this out is one of the 9. One of the 9. This out. So you get this object. This object, you can use it because it's an output stream object. Think about output stream object. So use this object, you can produce output content. So that's why use the out.println. So you can print out output content in this way. So it's correct. C. Why C? Some students chose C option. Writer. There is nothing. No such thing called a writer. Okay? So here, I just use a name, try to, fake it. I pick some name, it does not exist. I just use it, try to, get you confused. So no such thing. All right, so that is the question number 17. Next question, number 18. This is pretty easy, just a concept, right? Concept. 1/4. Miss this one, this question. Here, all the variables declared in JSP scriptlets. Pay attention to the scriptlets. Are not class variables, method variables. Method variable, not class variables. So what method corresponds to underscore JSP service this method? Okay, because the scripts, all the scripts are copied. The content of all the scripts copied inside this method. So the variables you declined, you can only use it inside this method. So that's why we call method variables, not class variables. Class variables, that's outside this method. Yeah. So those, JSP declarations, JSP directives, so those things copied outside this whole method. So those we call the class variables. Okay, yeah. So that concept. Next question. Number 19. Miss rate 50%. Pretty high. All the JSP elements of a JSP, such as JSP directives, declarations, scriptlets, expressions, are all copied into this method. Okay? Yeah. We just talked about that in the translated servlet class. Is false. Why those 50%? The last two copy there, right? The first two not. The first two copy outside of it. Outside of this method. Yeah. The first two outside this method. The last two inside this method. Yeah. So we learned that. Yeah. Actually, in our notes, we spent a lot of time on this topic. Yeah. We spent a lot of time. Yeah. It is important. Yeah. So hope you can get this part. Yeah. Because you will see this topic for sure, 100% for sure, in midterm. All right. Number 20. Miss rate 56%. Yeah, very high. Here, we need to use our understanding on these two concepts, redirect and forward. That difference. That difference is very important. So let's see why it is false. In a Java web application, if you can redirect a request to certain URL in the servlet, then you can also forward the current request to the same URL. False. This one actually not that hard. This one not that hard. Let me explain why it is false. Redirect. What kind of URL we can use to do redirect action on it? All URL, right? All URLs, including external URL, right? Yeah, external. So the URL that points to resource from a different server. So not your own server, different server. That's okay. But forward, you cannot. If you use external URL, you cannot do forwarding. Forwarding, you can only do internal URL. Okay? You can only forward to internal URLs. Yeah. So what do you mean internal, right? Internal with respect to what? Okay? Internal with respect to your current web application. Yeah. That kind of URL we call internal URL. Your current web application, the same here, because we're talking about some Java web application. So we are talking about this current Java web application. even a different Java web application in the same server, we cannot call it internal URL. So you cannot forward to that. Okay? Yeah. Suppose there is another Java web application in the same server, so different from this one, another one, you cannot forward request to the resource in another Java web application. You cannot. Okay? Yeah. So that's the background of this question. Next, number 24. Yeah, the miss rate is pretty high. 44. Yeah, not as high as the previous a few questions. 44%. Yeah. All right. Let me explain why D is correct. Yeah. First, A is not correct. Why A is not correct? Look at what is this X. What's the meaning for this exclamation sign? Declaration, right? JSP declaration. So that's the, JSP element, declaration element. In JSP declaration, we cannot use implicit object request. We cannot use that. Okay? Yeah. Illegal. Yeah. So A, cross out. Yeah. B, why B is wrong? All right, B. Many students couldn't see the problem in B. Yeah, there is a big problem in B. Yeah, so many students select B. Yeah, the reason B is wrong, this request is wrong. We should use response implicit object. Response, not request. When you send redirect, you use response object to send, not request object to send. Yeah. So that's why B option is wrong. Yeah. C, all right, C. Why C is wrong? Yeah. Some students couldn't find the problem in C. Yeah. So this is a JSP expression. All right. So we want to get a parameter, right? But when you get parameter, you cannot use response object, right? You should use request object. Okay, request object dot get attribute. Then it's okay. Okay, all right. So then the last one is correct. So you see expression, you use request, get parameter, it's okay, get parameter, parameter name, no problem, right? Yeah. So that's why D is correct. Okay? Yeah. Try to get the basics, all those properties you need to use when you work on this type of questions. Yeah. So you can expect similar questions in our midterm. Yeah. All right. The last question, number 25, this one. Yeah. Still redirect, right? So redirect, yeah, we didn't use forward. Yeah. So let's look at the miss rate first. 56%. 56%. Yeah. All right, so let me explain. Yeah. Redirect. Yeah. Redirect, think about the redirect. We make the browser, yeah, here we need to use this background. When we use redirect, we make the browser to make the browser start a new request. All right, yeah. So that's what we are doing. So when we use the redirect, now you can see the request, the new request starts from this browser. Browser outside the server, right? Yeah. So the server here. So this is server. Okay. Browser here. Browser here. All right. So the browser starts a new request here, okay, with that URL. Redirect that URL. All right, okay. When you do that, the browser send a new request using that URL. Can you let it to visit resource inside this web-inf? Web-inf? No, you cannot, because everything inside the web-inf folder is protected from outside external users. External users cannot access anything directly inside this folder through URLs, directed. Yeah, no, protected. Yeah. So that's the background. Yeah. Web-inf, so this folder has that special property. Only internal access is allowed. External access, from everywhere outside this web application, we treat as external. Yeah, I explained internal, external in the previous slide, right? Yeah, so you know the meaning of external, internal. Yeah. So any external visit is prohibited. Yeah, you cannot do that visit. Yeah. But internal is allowed. Internal means from the same web application. Okay? Same web application. Now, if you want to access a resource inside that folder, it is allowed. Okay? So that is the main point. Yeah. And this whole question, a very important, very likely I will give the similar question in midterm. All right, so we complete those highly missed. Yeah, I just want to say those highly missed questions in homework 1. Yeah. After that, I may like to go to comprehension questions, then quiz questions to prepare you for the midterm. Yeah. All right, so let's stop here.